Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sunset Happy Hour Club. I am your host, Mads, and today we are giving some college advice from myself, a college dropout. So, the idea for this episode was inspired, by the newly graduated, I guess they're not seniors anymore, who are all starting to get ready for the next chapter of their life. They're starting orientation and making their schedules and getting ready to move to college. And it reminded me of a blog post that I did on my blog back, I think it was like 2019. And it was titled College Advice from a College Dropout. And basically, it is a post talking about some things that I wish I had done different in college. So I thought today we would go through and kind of read that post together, see what I still think feels relevant, maybe embellish onto it all a little bit more. But yeah, so I guess let's preface it with, like I said, college dropout. So I attended college for 1 year. I went to Jacksonville University down in Jacksonville, Florida as a dance major. I had kind of had plans to double major. I, at the time, kind of thought about communications, but never actually fully declared it. Like I said, I went for a year. I made it through my freshman year, just barely, if we're being very blunt here. There definitely came a time at the end of the first semester where I was very seriously considering just packing it up there, but I did stick around for a second semester, which I am ultimately glad that I did, because the second semester did end up being better than the first. I want to reiterate that while college is very important in some fields or to some families or to some people, that it is not the only path. I think still it is the main path that is given to high school kids. It is the main direction that they are steered, but it's not for everybody, and it doesn't have to be, or it doesn't have to be your right now, because it's a lot to put on an 18-year-old. So if you don't feel like that's your path, or you don't know what you want to do, it's okay to take a pause. It's okay to work for a little while and try to get a taste of what you actually want to do. It's okay to travel for a while. There are many options. There's not just one road. So we are going to go ahead and pull up the article, or the post rather. Let's see. All right, here it is. College advice from a college dropout. And we're going to kind of just go through it all. I'm going to read the passages. We'll give a little commentary on what I think 2019 me had to say, what present me thinks is a little different. So starting us off, it starts off with, I'm going to be really blunt here. I did not do well my freshman year of college because I was a mental mess. My go-to answer when people ask why I dropped out is usually along the lines of, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I didn't want to waste the money on school. Or, I just didn't love the school and I never loved school in general, so it didn't quite work out. Plus, I don't think I was ready to really move that far away. All of those things are super true and played into why I chose not to return for a sophomore year. But one of the biggest reasons was because mentally I was pretty sure I couldn't handle another year. As a not super social person, I found myself struggling to make friends, feeling incredibly lonely and homesick, and just reverting to staying in my dorm in bed with Netflix because I didn't know what else to do. I can now see there were plenty of things I could have done to improve my situation and my experience, and am sharing them today in hopes that I could maybe help some other incoming freshmen as they transition into college life, because what they don't tell you is that it is hard. It is uncomfortable. But as cheesy as it sounds, most of your peers are feeling the same way you are. They're doing their best to transition smoothly while trying to look like they've got it all figured out. So yeah, that all just still feels very relevant. I think looking back, I was highly anxious and highly depressed, and I had moved 1,000 miles away from home and didn't know how to cope with it. Or I knew how to cope with it, but couldn't get myself to take the steps to cope with it. I was in a bad headspace, and that definitely played into it a lot. All right. So from there, we go into I think it's like 3-ish pieces of advice. Our first one being, use the free resources offered to you on campus. It says, most college campuses offer 2 incredibly important free resources, a gym and counseling services. Looking back, I could have greatly benefited from using both of those things. I didn't realize yet how important and closely tied together working out and mental health are. Not only that, but when you gain 20 pounds, yes, 20 pounds during my time in school, even as a dance major, it can take a toll on your mental health. Had I gotten up and maybe put a little time in at the gym or taken a few of the offered yoga classes, I may have felt a little bit or a lot better in my own skin. Let's all be honest with ourselves. When we are moving our body consistently, even just for a little while, it makes us feel stronger and more confident in ourselves. So the gym would have been a great way to help myself. But another way I could have helped myself would have been asking for help. Colleges offer free counseling services for a reason, so that students can get help as they are transitioning into this new, big, scary, confusing time in life. I had family friends who urged me to use this resource, but for some reason I never went. Looking back, I 100% should have. Counseling and therapy can be costly, so take advantage of it while it's free. I have no doubt in my mind that I had forced myself into the gym and maybe went to talk to someone whose job it was to help me sort through my own headspace. I probably would have had a completely different college experience. Yes, and yes. I think at that point, I definitely had no idea the impact that physical activity had on your mental health. Getting up and just taking a walk can make a huge difference. And I think even though I was dancing, the dance load in college was significantly less than what it was that I was used to in high school. The hours were drastically smaller, so I wasn't getting that same physical activity like as I had been, and I needed it. And I think I wrote here that I gained 20 pounds. It was definitely more than that because I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to move my body, and weight gain can be fine, but it definitely can take a toll on you if you are already feeling bad. Feeling bad about your body only makes things worse. But that is also not to say that the weight or the number has anything to do with the movement, because it doesn't. The biggest impact it does is that it just helps clear your head. And then we get to therapy. I ended up never doing therapy in college. I did, however, start it right at the beginning of 2020, actually right before the pandemic, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because I think I had one in-person appointment before the world shut down. And looking back, I think the therapist I had was not the best fit for me. However, she definitely served a purpose. She was the one appointment on my calendar during 2020, every other week. And I think she definitely did help me realize some things about myself and feel a little more vulnerable with my emotions. And I think back in college, it definitely would have benefited me to talk to somebody who is educated and knows how to would have helped give me the tools to improve my situation and improve my thoughts and improve my mindset. Like I mentioned in the post, these resources in college are free. And outside of college, they can be crazy expensive. So if anything, take advantage of them while you can, because it's a really great way to start and set yourself up with great habits for later in life even. Moving into the next piece of advice. And this is jump. No, that's not what it is. Not jumping. We're not jumping. Just get up and get out of your dorm. I now know that it is crazy important to just get up and go during the times that you want to do nothing but spend the day in bed with a pint of Ben & Jerry's. Get up and go sit in the common room, do your homework in the coffee shop on campus or in the library, eat dinner in the cafeteria instead of your dorm. All of these things, A, open you up to interaction from your peers, and B, get you out of the physical place where you are occupying while you are in your negative headspace. I think that last part is huge. And that's something that I still struggle with today when I'm in a mental funk. It's really easy just to stay in your bed, but just taking yourself out of the physical space where you're feeling bad can make a huge difference. And that could mean something as small as leaving your bedroom and going into the living room, or leaving your house and taking a walk, or getting in your car and going for a drive. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it does just help kind of kickstart your brain into kind of getting out of the negative thought patterns and the stuck place that I was in. I spent many a nights in bed eating pints of Ben & Jerry's making small things of Easy Mac for dinner because I was too scared and too insecure to go to the cafeteria by myself. And that can be scary. Eating by yourself can be scary, but you're never going to open yourself up to more people or the opportunity to meet people or meet somebody who will sit down with you and have dinner if you're still in the dorm. You have to put yourself where the people are. And that's hard, especially as someone like me who is very introverted for the most part. More so back in college. It wasn't until I started traveling after college that I kind of started breaking out of my shell. But just get up. Change your environment. Put yourself where the people are. It'll make a huge difference. Our final bit here says, say yes to everything. When you first move in, you are bombarded with different on-campus events, and while you may think they seem dumb or not your style, go anyway. They may be awkward, but get out and use them to meet new people. The best way to meet new people and subsequently feel less alone is to go where the people are. See? That's the whole point of your university putting these events on anyway. Your university wants you to succeed. They want your experience at the school to be positive. So get up and go on all the on-campus events. And added bonus is that these usually have food, free food. So yeah, like I was saying, positioning yourself to be where the people are is going to set you up for success. The quicker that you can get out and just start talking to people, just feel comfortable kind of starting a small conversation, the less alone you're going to feel. And the way to do that is to say yes to the invitations, to say yes internally when you walk by the billboard on your floor and you see the flyer for the game night or, I don't know, the craft event that your RA is holding. Whatever it is, showing up physically to those events is showing up for yourself. And your future self will thank you for it because it's going to help you feel a whole lot less alone. Because I think that was kind of my biggest thing, is that I started making some connections, but ultimately I think I just felt alone. I came from a family that was super close. We had a very close group of family friends. And then I picked up and I moved all the way across the country. And that whole support system then wasn't right there. And as somebody who had a hard time talking to people, it felt incredibly isolating. So like, present me wants to go back and tell freshman Mads to just get up, go say yes to something. Don't be afraid to say hi. Don't be afraid to sound stupid in a conversation. It's the only way that you're going to start to make some sort of a connection and feel less alone. And then I closed out this post saying, most of these things seem so simple. That's because they are. Sometimes it's easy to forget that the solutions to your problems don't always have to be grand. Looking back, I know that all of those things would have drastically made a difference in how I experienced college. With that being said, I want to reiterate, I have never regretted dropping out of college. It wasn't the right path for me, and while that was hard to accept at first, I am so incredibly happy with where I've been and where I've ended up. So my last bit of advice for incoming college freshmen. Your college experience is what you make of it. You get to decide what these 4 or more years are all about. But it's also okay if you realize it's not for you. We all have our own compass to follow, so get out there and try everything and find out where your compass is pointing you. And for some reason, I feel emotional now. I think it's because that all of that is still very true. I had a really hard time when I decided not to go back to college because I think I felt like I had failed. I think I felt like moving all the way back home was a sign that like I didn't make it and I wasn't strong enough and I couldn't do it. But I think now looking back, I think I'm incredibly proud of myself for being able to realize that I was in a situation that wasn't right for me. And I'm incredibly proud that I was strong enough to leave the situation and make the really scary choice to go back into the unknown and start over and try to figure out where the heck I was going. And if we're being honest, a lot of days I still don't know where I'm going. But we're getting closer. And I've had, since dropping out of the college, the craziest life experiences. I've traveled a bunch, which was wildly transformative to me, for lack of a better word. As cliche as that sounds, like, I truly credit my travels with changing who I am as a person and making me feel comfortable in my skin and forcing me out of my shell. Traveling for me was my college experience. It was the years that put me out of my comfort zone, and I learned so much about the world around me and about the people around me and about what I believe in and the things that I stand for. And that was outside of a classroom, and that's what worked for me, and that's okay. And again, I struggled with that for a long time, feeling like it was so crazy that I didn't want to be in school, or that didn't work for me. But I think a great thing is that I think that's becoming a little bit more normal. I think not jumping straight into school is becoming a little bit more normal and a little bit more talked about. And that makes me happy, because school is a huge commitment of time, of money. And so if you don't have a clear path or something that 100% you want to do, it's okay to not rush into things. And it's okay to take a minute to explore and make sure that you're making a choice that you feel is really right for you. And that goes for everything. That doesn't have to just be about going to school. It's okay to take a pause or to take a step back and figure out what you really want. And that doesn't have to be a straight path. It can come with trial and error and mistakes and failure. But failure is not a bad thing. Failure means that you are one step closer to getting to the right thing. Failure is getting the things that aren't right for you out of the way. And that's really important. So don't be scared of failing. I think I was incredibly scared of feeling like a failure when I dropped out of college. And ultimately, it was one of the biggest stepping stones in my life. So yeah, go to college and have fun and say yes and make friends and talk to people and learn new things, or explore life and find your path and feel confident knowing that you are exploring and finding yourself and coming into yourself. Because 18, 19 is a crazy time, and it's okay that you don't have it all figured out. You will. I'm 27 and still figuring out my life on the daily. I am in a period of time right now where I'm incredibly stressing out about feeling unsure about my next step in life, about where I'm going to be supposedly living in a month, or what that's going to look like. But it's okay. And it's okay to be unsure, and it's okay to be scared. But just take a step forward, whether that is into a classroom, out into the world. You've got it. You've got it, and you're going to be okay. Because if scared little 19-year-old Mads could figure it out and could make it through a really dark, scary, isolating feeling place, you got it. All right. So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning into this solo episode of Sunset Happy Hour Club. You can follow us on all of our socials at Sunset Happy Hour Club. Apparently we're on Threads now, because I guess that's a thing that everybody's doing. I don't know what it's going to look like over there, but I guess you could follow us there, because that's something new and exciting. You can also watch the podcast episodes over on YouTube, Sunset Happy Hour Club. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye.